It is a machine of interlocking teeth and spiral paths, a forgotten engine from a world without electricity. It waits in silence, its purpose a riddle of cold iron. Its heart is a threaded steel artery, designed to pull its victim forward with every turn. The movement is precise, relentless, and completely mechanical. And here, a spring-loaded arm holds a blade, curved like a talon. It is poised to trace a surface it has not touched in a century. What was this complex contraption built to conquer? The simple, organic curve of the autumn harvest. Before the age of iron, there was only the knife and the weary hand. In the candlelight of early America, the apple was king, but its kingdom was a mountain of labor. Every bushel represented thousands of cuts, a tedious circular dance between blade and fruit. This was the harvest problem, a race against rot measured in aching wrists. For every apple saved for the winter, a pile of peelings was the tax paid in time. The sheer volume was a testament to the scale of the challenge. The demand for cider, sauce, and dried rings was insatiable. But the human engine was slow, inefficient, and overwhelmed. An idea began to form, not in a laboratory, but in the barns and workshops of New England. It was a simple question. Could the motion of a lathe be taught to follow the shape of a fruit? The first attempts were clumsy affairs of wood and string. They were fragile, prone to slipping, and often broke under the strain. But the concept was sound, a crank to provide rotation and a guide to move the cutter. The inventors were not academics. They were farmers and blacksmiths driven by necessity. In 1803, the first patent was awarded. The machine was born from the desperate need for speed. The true revolution, however, required a stronger material. The answer was being forged in the fires of the new industrial world, cast iron. These new parts were heavy and powerful. They were the bones of a machine that would not break, bend, or fail. The early iron pares were brutalist and functional. There were no ornate flourishes yet, only the raw power of the gear and the screw. The assembly was a process of trial and error. Each part was filed by hand to ensure the gears would mesh without seizing. The new peeling arm was spring-loaded, giving it the sensitivity to hug the contours of an imperfect apple. It was a mechanical touch, mimicking the pressure of a human thumb. The three-pronged fork was a vast improvement over a simple spike. It gripped the core, ensuring the apple turned true without wobbling. Finally, the moment of truth. An apple is mounted, the handle is gripped, and the first turn is made. With a satisfying clank and whir, the iron age of apple peeling began. A single, unbroken ribbon of peel spun away from the fruit, a perfect spiral marking the death of a monumental chore. This is what time does to iron, reducing a marvel of engineering to a forgotten lump of rust. But within this decay, the memory of the mechanism remains, waiting for its resurrection. The decline was gradual, a silent retreat from the kitchen counter to the back of the pantry. It began with the hum of the electric motor, the new sound of progress that made the hand crank obsolete. Once the heart of the harvest, it was now just a heavy, awkward object. It was relegated to the damp cellar, placed on a wooden shelf next to forgotten jars. Here, in the darkness, the slow alchemy of oxidation began its work. The first spots of rust appeared like a sickness, blossoming on the sharp edges of the gear teeth. Years turned into decades, and the damp air was a relentless enemy. The once oiled surfaces where metal met metal were the first to surrender, seizing together in a bond of corrosion. The wooden handle, once smooth from the grip of 1,000 turns, began to rot. The grain swelled and splintered, absorbing the cellar's perpetual dampness. The world outside changed, but down here, time was measured only in layers of dust and decay. The machine became a forgotten anchor in a sea of shadows. A collapsed barn, a flooded basement. This is where the final abandonment occurs. Here, the machine is fully exposed to the elements, its iron body returning to the earth from which it was forged. Rainwater pools in the ornate spokes of the main gear. It is a crucible of rust, dissolving the iron molecule by molecule. The spring-loaded peeling arm, once so nimble, is now frozen solid. Its tension is long gone, defeated by a solid wedge of corrosion. Nature, patient and persistent, begins its reclamation. A carpet of vibrant green moss starts to grow across the pitted black surface of the frame. The machine is no longer a tool. It has become a landscape. A tiny ecosystem flourishes in its mechanical ruins. The sharp steel blade designed to slice fruit is now surrendering its own edge. It flakes away, becoming indistinguishable from the rust around it. A seed finds purchase in the collected debris. A fragile green tendril uncurls, wrapping itself around the frozen crank handle. The C-clamp, built to grip a table with immense force, is now losing its own battle. The screw is fused shut, its final grip fixed on nothing. The three-pronged fork, designed to impale an apple, now points uselessly at the sky. It is a skeleton's hand reaching from a grave of mud and leaves. The ornate patterns cast into the iron, once a mark of pride from the foundry, are now softened and obscured. The details are erased by a uniform blanket of corrosion. Winter comes and the machine is encased in ice. The expansion and contraction further weaken the integrity of the cast iron. The gears will not turn again. The screw will not advance, and the blade will never again find the curve of a fruit. It is an industrial fossil, a testament to a forgotten motion. Its story is now told not by its function, but by the slow, silent process of its own undoing. How does a forgotten piece of iron, seized by a century of rust, become a working piece of history? This is not just restoration, it is a resurrection. The process begins with a careful diagnosis, documenting every frozen gear and pitted surface. Each component is a prisoner of oxidation waiting to be freed. The machine is gently disassembled, each screw and pin carefully persuaded to release its decades-long grip. It is a mechanical puzzle, taken apart in reverse of its 19th century assembly. Submerged in an electrolysis bath, an electric current performs a quiet miracle. The rust, which is chemically bound to the iron, simply lets go and floats away. Once freed from its crust, the true character of the metal is revealed. The wire wheel sings against the iron, exposing the original foundry marks and the subtle texture of the casting. The smaller steel components demand a finer touch. Steel wool and polishing compound bring back the mirror sheen to the parts that once did the cutting and moving. The peeling blade, the very soul of the machine, is reborn on the whetstone. It is a delicate process, restoring an edge that has been dull for generations. Now, the reassembly. Each cleaned and oiled part is returned to its rightful place, the complex dance of gears and levers locking together once more. The final step before motion is lifeblood. A single drop of oil is all it takes to bridge the years, silencing the friction of the past. For the first time in what could be 80 years, the crank turns. It is the sound of pure mechanical satisfaction, a whisper from the industrial age. The final test is not one of engineering, but of purpose. A crisp, green apple is impaled on the fork, ready to meet the newly sharpened blade. The handle turns, and history repeats itself in a perfect, unbroken spiral. The peel falls away in a single, continuous ribbon, just as its inventor intended. The restoration is complete. No longer a forgotten relic, it is a functional sculpture, a testament to the enduring power of simple, robust design. But its working life is over. An object this significant earns a new purpose: to teach, to inspire, and to be preserved. It takes its place among the icons of its era. From the kitchen counter to the permanent collection, its journey is complete. Behind the glass, its story is told on a small placard. It is given a name, a date, and a place in the grand narrative of innovation. Here, It captures the imagination of a new generation. They see not an old tool, but a complex machine born from a simple need. It stands in silent dialogue with its descendants. The fundamental physics of its design, the rotating crank, the threaded drive, the contour arm, are eternal. It is now more than a machine. It is an artifact, a tangible link to the harvest, the hardship, and the ingenuity of the past. Frozen in time, its gears will no longer turn. But its story, the story of the perfect peel, will now last forever. I don't know where I'm all new way.